Okay, it's time for another chicken run project. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today. It is November 16th, 2019. So we got a few things going on the farm this morning, and one of the things that we wanted to get accomplished is we need to put a couple more things in our chicken run to kind of finish it out and make these guys a little more comfortable. So you'll see our chickens behind us here, so they're in there having a good time. We took a straw bale, threw it down on the ground, and they just love scratching around in there. You probably see them doing it behind me now. And they're really enjoying their new chicken home. So one of the things that we know that we needed to come back and do is we need to do a couple things. First thing would be these guys are molting, so they look a little worse for the wear, and that's not a problem. This time of year it's common for them to go ahead and molt, lose their feathers, and then gain their feathers back for the wintertime and in through the next year. So they look a little ragged. However, they do really enjoy dust baths, not only now, but of course as they go through, have their feathers, and it helps to keep them clean, keep them free of mites and things like that. So what we wanted to do, they're already creating little dust baths themselves, because actually our dirt's a pretty good dust bath. There's a lot of mineral content in here that helps them out. However, we wanted to have a designated place where they can always go into and go ahead and get that dust bath done. Now, in addition to that, we also have done some research on different ways of composting, and chicken composting is what I'm going to go ahead and call it, because I think it's referred to as that most of the time. But there's a way that you can compost with very little effort on your part. So not only are we going to create a chicken dust bath out of some cinder block, which you'll see next to me here, but we're also going to create a couple of areas where we can do some chicken composting. As we set those up, we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. Okay, so real quick before we go ahead and get started on the dust bath, talk a little bit about tools for today. So I am going to need to flatten the ground that we're going to be working with. So I have a pickaxe and a flat shovel, so I'll definitely be doing that. I also have some cinder block here. So these are the 4-inch wide by 8-inch tall by 16, pretty sure they're 16 inches, 16 inches long. So I've got several of those here as well. To anchor those in place, I've got some 2-foot 3/8 inch rebar. So I've got that here so we can help kind of keep those cinder blocks from sliding and moving around on us. And then somewhere around here, right here, I've got a little 5-pound mallet. So I'm going to go ahead and get in there now, see if I can get some of this ground flattened that we're going to be working with today so we can create our little bins. So I think I have the area cleared out now, and for the most part it's flat-ish. The chickens are very curious. They're wondering what I just did to that open area. So now one of the things I was keeping in mind, if you've seen some of our chicken coop videos, I'll link one here for you. We do have the first half of this run covered. So we got the first 20 feet or so covered. I want to make sure the dust bath itself is somewhere in the center there, because we expect rain this week, which is unusual, but we do get rain from time to time. So I want to make sure the dust bath itself stays as dry as it possibly can and still be outside. So what Lori and I are going to do now, we're going to kind of figure out how we want to arrange the blocks to kind of create these 3 separate bins. We'll come back to you with how we finish that up. Okay, so we have the design done. So what you see here is you see a small area here. This is specifically for the chicken's dust bath. So there's a couple of ingredients that we still need before this is done. What we actually won't get to the end of today would be our 2 chicken composting bins there. So we're gonna kind of show you guys that as we go. But essentially the idea behind that is all of our organic chicken scraps, which would include, by the way, meat, not bones, but meat, assuming it's not chicken, of course. So that will go into those bins every day. The chickens will peck, scratch, eat whatever they want to eat, leave whatever they don't want. And you can see we got plenty of straw on the ground here. We'll throw straw down on top of that when we're done and let that continue to just kind of build over several months. We can add another layer to build that up higher. Once that's done and nice and full, we'll cover that with some plywood, move on to the next side. So basic chicken composting, we're gonna give that a shot. We'll keep you guys updated as far as how that goes. So what we still need now is actually some ingredients here in order to have a true dust bath for our chickens. And you can see the girls are really interested as far as exactly what we're doing. So now I do know one thing that we need. Our dirt actually is a good ingredient. However, we need a couple more things for these girls to be happy when their feathers grow back. One of those would be sand. So where can we get some sand? We have sand. So where we are right now, right at the end of Patton Road before we get to Grand Avenue, if you guys know directions here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, we've got a huge wash that actually completely washes out whenever we get heavy rains, which we got a month or 2 ago. So you can see we've got these huge sand deposits that wind up happening here right on the side of the road. So what we're gonna do, you can see it's nice and fine sand, lots of rocks in here as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a nice big bunch of this and bring it back to the farm with us. So now we have the sand, it's in there ready to go. One more ingredient that we need to mix with our dirt, our sand, and then the third thing, if Lori wants to slide on in, would be our cache of diatomaceous earth. So we keep that in here so it's nice and sealed. You can see that down in there. And we definitely don't want to breathe this in because those crystals can do some damage to your lungs. So what we'll do is we'll get a good scoop or 2 of the diatomaceous earth, mix it in and just kind of mix up really well the sand, the dirt that we have that's nice and silty, and then of course this diatomaceous earth. So we're gonna go ahead and mix those together and then come back with the final product. Okay, so we're done. So you saw me go ahead and put that little mix of things together for our dust bath for our chickens. So that's what we got going on right here. And this is plenty deep enough. So they'll go through, you know, there's pebbles and stuff in here. They're gonna peck in here, scratch. They'll do their dust baths in here. They'll pick out all the pebbles that they need as far as grit is concerned. So they'll actually use some of this as grit. The diatomaceous earth will help them both externally and internally. Internally will be for worms and things like that from what I understand. And then of course externally for mites and whatnot. So you can see they're real curious. They want to check all this stuff out. What we don't have in this video, like I had mentioned before, would be our chicken composting bins, which will be right here. They're already very interested in what's going on over here. We're going to kind of get them used to scratching and pecking in here, probably throw some of the scratch that we use in here along with a little bit of straw to kind of get them used to just being in here and scratching and pecking so that we can go ahead and get our chicken composting bins up and running. But of course, that's for another episode. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Instagram and Facebook, we post content there you won't see here on the YouTube channel. Questions or comments, leave those in the comment section down below. And our Amazon shop, I'll leave a link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the work we're doing here. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. The chickens are creating a little bit of havoc behind me. Still need our ingredients in order to make this a complete kitchen dust bath? Chicken. Let's rearrange those letters.